Are you going bananas doing something that's incompatible with who you are? Then listen up, as I have a chat with ex-lawyer turned fruit delivery guy who's turning over tens of millions of dollars doing what he loves.
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, but you, so much more importantly, are a motivated small business owner ready to crank out some marketing GOLD. That's what we're here to do, team. Let's get stuck into it. And I am doing this, by the way, sitting down. I have just done a personal training session with past guest of this show, Brad Smith from Brap Motorcycles. And I think I might have overextended myself. Boy, am I going to be sore tomorrow. Smitty, I'm going to come and get you if I am. But I am sitting down. Normally I do my show standing up. Just like to it gets the energy flowing. But I've got a bit to cover today, so I thought, I'm going to do this sitting down. Plus, it is about quarter to 10 at night. And I normally do the show in the morning. There you go, a couple of tips. Do the show standing up, do it in the morning when the energy's flowing. But I've got a lot of travel about to happen. I'm just in the eye of the storm of travel at the moment. And I am going to share a day or a week or two in the life of me, because I've had a few listeners ask, what do you do, Timbo? So I'm going to let you into my diary very shortly. But a big show today. I want to share some questions from listeners, some feedback from listeners, and I am about to have a fireside chat with an ex-lawyer who felt very incompatible and now has a $40 million plus fruit delivery business, a national fruit delivery business. It's a great, great story. So let's get stuck right in.
Small Business Big Marketing with Tim Reid.
Now, my diary. I've had a number of listeners hit me up and say, what do you actually do, Timbo, when you talk about these keynotes and, public speaking and things that you do? So I thought I'd give you a sense of what my diary looks like in the next couple of weeks, and you can see. So basically, besides podcasting every week, I smash out a lot of keynotes around the world these last 12 months and around Australia a lot. So just looking at my diary, tomorrow I head to Brisbane, up in Queensland for you overseas listeners, and I'm running a workshop for my good mates at the Key Person of Influence Entrepreneurs course. I then head over on Saturday and Sunday. I'm heading to Perth, the other side of the country, where I'm emceeing a conference for Australia Post, which will be full of small business owners, licensed post office owners. That will be over in Perth, and then come back. And then on Tuesday, I'm talking at the REIV annual conference. I'm opening that. That's the Real Estate Institute of Victoria. That'll be in Melbourne in the morning. Then I fly to Sydney that afternoon to give a talk to Sennheiser, which is, the audio guys, the sound guys. They've got a conference happening in Sydney. Then I go to Gold Coast on Wednesday. I'm speaking at the Self-Storage Association of Australasia's National Conference. And then I head over to Queenstown in New Zealand for 3 days to speak at a financial planning conference. So that's sort of my next 8 days sorted. And I talk about marketing, obviously, and the concept of the helpful business, of which we're talking a lot about inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. And it's a concept that's going down really, really well. You'll hear me mentioning it more and more as the weeks and months go by, because it's where I want you all to be. Now, I don't think I have ever done this on the show before, but a big thank you to Telstra. That is the national telecommunications business, Telstra. I can't believe it. They sent me an email following up a phone call I had with a lady, a very helpful lady in a call centre in the Philippines. She sent me an email to follow that up. I replied to that email, and she replied back to it. Now, I know that sounds crazy. That's how it should be, but often it's not. How many do not reply emails do we get? And Telstra, you surprise me. You pleasantly surprise me. And I suggest anyone, any business owner listening, don't send out do not reply emails. All my emails that I send out, if you've registered at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, I send out emails alerting you to wonderful things that happen in the marketing world, new episodes coming out, etc. I always put a PS. Got a question? Just hit reply. And lots of people do. So big ups to you, Telstra. Oh, team, this one breaks my heart. I got an email just before I went on air this afternoon from a past guest of the show, the very beautiful Valerie Koo, author of Power Stories. And Valerie sends me this. Valerie, it's coming from her assistant. Valerie would love to invite you to be a guest on her table at an upcoming Business Chicks lunch with author and entrepreneur Seth Godin. If you are able to make it, Valerie would love to host you with her compliments. And it goes on with the details. Now, you know, we all love Seth, marketing doyen, author of some amazing books, refused to come on this show. That's another story. We'll get him on one day. I get invited to a lunch that he's speaking at. Can't go because I'm going to be speaking in Sydney that day. Breaks my heart. I sent Valerie a little audio email back saying thank you, and such a kind gesture. Should be more of them. Yeah, invite me to more lunches, guys, girls. I'm there. I'm here. I love a feed. I've lost a bit of weight of recent years, but I still love a feed. Anyway, had to laugh at that given how much I've been going back and forth trying to get Seth on the show. Anyway, thanks, Valerie. Now, on a more negative note, I got a bit of negative feedback from only 3 people, you know, hardly a majority. But Johnny Webb, my first guest on this podcast all those years ago, 4.5 years ago, whatever it was, John Webb of Wicked Campers has gone and been a naughty boy. He's got degrading slogans on his camper vans, his rental camper vans, that degrade young women, and they do. And as a father of a young teenage girl, I don't agree with the slogans, but he has certainly injected some personality into that brand and got a few people offside. And when you Google Wicked Campers marketing, guess who comes up? Yes, this show. So a few listeners have got their back up. One, here's a I won't say who it's from, but she or he, I'm not sure, says, your podcast sings praise to John Webb of Wicked Campers. Aren't you then aligning your show with this muck? No, I'm not. God, I interviewed him like 4.5 years ago. I didn't know he was going to do that. You know, silly. But I don't support it. But, you know, the fact that I interviewed him all those years ago kind of leave me alone. Just a little guy. Not a very thick skin. Enough of that. And on a much happier note, a big congratulations to Mendo the artist. He and his wife, well, he didn't, but his wife did, have a baby. And he's a long-time listener of the show. He's been to Small Business Big Marketing meetup in Melbourne. He offered me a piece of art once, so kind. And they've just had their first baby, and I know how excited they must be. I've seen the action on Facebook, seen pictures of the little fellow, and he's beautiful. Must look like his mother, Mendo. Well done, mate. A big congrats for everyone at Small Business Big Marketing. And team, if you want some nice art, go to mendo.com.au. Alrighty, going through a bit here. I've just got so many listener emails piling up, guys, that I just thought it'd be good to kind of cover all of them off in one. Well, not in one hit, because I've got a huge pile sitting over there. But anyway, we're getting through them. This is a question from Andrew Ross. Andrew says, hey there, Timbo. First of all, love your show. I have loved hearing many experts give their advice to us budding small business owners, and I continue to do so. Good on you, mate. That's what we try to do here at Small Business Big Marketing headquarters. My question to you is, I have heard you speak of a virtual copywriter, and I would like to explore how to go about finding one. Where would you suggest I look to engage someone for my copywriting? Many thanks, Rossi. Hey, Rossi, first of all, well done on realising you need a copywriter. Every small business does, I believe. It's a skill that many small businesses don't have, so outsource it. That's a good thing. So get your website written, your brochures written, your sales letters written, your content, your blogs, whatever you can get written that you're just not comfortable writing. It's at least you're going to get stuff done. Where do you find these people? Head over to elance.com, odesk.com, freelancer.com, try99copywriters.com. Haven't tried them, but they've been around a while. Ask colleagues who they're using. If you come across some cool writing on a website, maybe approach that website owner. And finally, just check out locally on Google. They don't have to be overseas, these people, on your virtual marketing team. You know, Google your suburb or your area and copywriters and see what comes up. Thanks for your email, Rossi. A little bit of feedback from Meg Marshall. I love being offered things. Yeah, Mendo offered me some art. I've had, what did I get? Valerie's offered me ticket to Seth Godin. It's just starting to happen. Got the toilet roll sent to me a few weeks ago. Oh, Range Rover, are you listening? Okay, Meg Marshall, long-time listener, Timbo, first-time emailer. Halfway through listening to the podcast from the Westpac function, episode 190, and had to email you to say enormous thanks. Why? Because, as always, it's dripping with marketing gold. I got lots of great inspiration and insights. Good on you. Love it. Thanks for letting me know that, because that's why I put this show together, to inspire you to grow your business through great marketing. Back to Meg, but as just importantly, that podcast was fun, seriously laughed out loud, which could have been very awkward given I was listening while out walking my dogs. She says, I love how you make it relevant for everybody. I'd certainly try to. I recently checked out of the corporate HR rat race. Good on you, Meg, and run my own business as a marriage celebrant and have gotten so much inspiration from your show to help make my business a success. So again, thank you. If you are ever, I love this bit, if you are in ever need of a marriage celebrant, please check out my business, raiseyourglassceremonies.com. Oh, Meg, that's very, very kind. Well, I guess maybe I will one day. I have 3 children, but personally, I hope I don't need another marriage consultant, but having 3 kids, maybe they will. Thanks a lot, Meg. Now, team, you know this show isn't possible without the good folk at Net Registry, and they are very good folk. In fact, I'm having lunch with them tomorrow before flying up to Brizzy. You see, Net Registry, they're there to help you get your online marketing needs sorted. And like every single aspect of your online marketing, that's what they can do. Whether it be registering a domain name, website design and hosting, helping you get found on Google, they can even set you up with an email marketing campaign. You got to love that. Ensuring you have a decent digital footprint is critical when marketing your business, and this goes way beyond just having a website. You know that. You're a long-time listener of this show. You know that a website's the start of getting yourself sorted online. Net Registry can do that and the rest. So head over to Net Registry today and see how you can get your online marketing sorted. It'll be much cheaper and easier than you think. And tell them Timbo sent you. That's netregistry.com.au. Okay, let's get stuck into today's guest. Head over to the campfire where Martin is sitting ready for a chat. I came across Martin actually via an article that he appeared in Net Registry's magazine Net, which you get when you become a Net Registry customer. It's fantastic. You get 6 months free subscription. It's a brilliant magazine. And I love the fact that Martin has a simple business doing big things. And this is a story, it's a story of blind courage, of him making the leap. It's the power of beautifully simple marketing and playing to one's strengths. I loved having a chat to Martin, and I started off by asking him about the incompatibility he felt as a lawyer prior to founding what is now a multi-million-dollar fruit delivery business.
Fruit salad, yummy, yummy.
I'd love to sort of look back and say it was courageous to move out of the law, but it was probably the furthest thing from it. I was desperately unhappy and felt very incompatible with what I was doing, and I felt that I had no other choice but to try and do something else.
How long? Obviously, it felt compatible because what is it? It's like a 6-year course, isn't it?
You go out of uni, and I was fortunate enough to get the marks, and probably I wasn't strategic at that stage of my life, and just thought, let's do what I can get into, and I did a double degree in law and economics, and it was a 5-year course combined, and by the time I was 23, I was out in the workforce, and I was lucky to secure a spot as an article clerk for a suburban law firm in Melbourne.
Where'd the incompatibility start to sort of show itself, and how?
I was probably incompatible already when I was studying at uni. I was quite disinterested in what I was doing, but
Right.
I just thought I didn't really give it any second thought at that stage in my life. I just
Right.
just rolled with the punches and just whatever came.
So ringing mum and dad and saying, hey, mum, leaving the law, I'm going to deliver fruit. Well, you didn't go immediately deliver fruit, did you? But you did. Did you give them a ring and say, I'm leaving the law?
Well, I remember telling them that I was leaving the law to sort of go into industry at that stage.
Industry, was it? Is that how you coined it?
Yeah, industry. I went and worked for a recycling company, and I told my parents. My dad was a businessman, and he just said that's terrific, and I had his support from the get go, and
Brilliant.
There was never any questions asked, and I never felt anything but support from my parents.
Yeah, well, that's important. You know, that sort of helps things, makes things a lot easier. So you left the law, you went into corporate logistics for a moment in time, but then you came across the idea of maybe delivering fruit would be kind of where it's at.
Well, what happened is that I worked for a recycling company, and a lot of what I was doing was in procurement and distribution and organisation, and I really enjoyed it. And at that stage, it was sort of in the late 90s. Things were sort of coming up in terms of, in terms of the internet. It was a bit of a sensation. People were starting to sell things via the internet, and I was quite mesmerised by that. I thought it was fantastic that you could easily sell something, but the question I had is, how could you organise the back end? So the warehousing, sort of stocking the relevant goods, going to people's houses and making sure they were home when you made the deliveries. And I felt that there was a whole lot of disorganisation in the back end that nobody really sort of thought about or had the answers for, particularly at that stage. So I was.
You should have rung that bloke. What's his name? Is it Jeff Bezos?
Yeah, well, that's what they've done. That's what they've done since. So I was quite immersed in that, and what happened with me is I got to a point after about 4 or 5 years in the recycling industry that either cultivate a career for a big company. I was at that stage at Visi, or try and do something myself. So what I did is I looked for some businesses that I thought would nurture my interest in the .com world, and I found this suburban home delivery business selling fruit and vegetables to Melbourne households, about 300 households in the Bayside suburbs. Mm-hmm. And it was a relative cheap buy, and I just thought this is sort of maybe something that I could take it a bit further.
Here we go.
So I bought a small business, and that's how I got into fruit delivery. It was home delivery initially, and then what happened is one of my customers asked, do you do workplace delivery? And that's when the bells rang, and I started going down that path of delivering fruit to workplaces.
Well, there's a couple of things there, Martin. One is I love the fact that you saw your strength in logistics and distribution and realised that there was a gap in all the other people running down the internet road saying the internet's going to change everything and we can sell anything on the internet. But there's two parts to that, isn't there? There's the front end and the back end. And there are some who are good at getting the front end right and have no idea then how to organise the back end. And there's people like you who had the back end right and loved the fact that the front end offered such amazing leverage.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's very interesting. I'm an operations person. There are, obviously people that are far more drawn to the back end and operations, and then there's other people that are far more drawn to sales and marketing. Mm-hmm. And in this business, what we do is we sell fruit, and we later launched our milk product to the corporate market. Mm. It's really all about having the capability of doing it. In terms of selling it, that's the easy part. The hard part is, are you able to deliver on what you say you're going to deliver on? So
just to be clear there, so what you're saying is getting that front end sorted out, having a great user interface website where people can easily understand what it is you've got to sell, easily place an order. That's relatively easy is what you're saying, but it's the back end of actually delivering what turns out for you now to be to tens of thousands of businesses around Australia. That's where you got to get it, you got to get it together.
Well, if you think of it in the context of our business, we would have discussions with companies on a national scale that have got multiple offices in probably all the major city centres of Australia, and they've probably got some in, outside the city centres, and they come to you and they say, listen, we want to have a one-stop shop solution for fruit or a one-stop shop solution for milk. Now, unless you've got a infrastructure that is set up that's able to deliver on that, I mean, there's no use selling it. So what happened with us is, over a period of, say, 5 to 7 years, we went outside our hometown of Melbourne and started setting up warehousing facilities, first in Sydney, then in Brisbane and Adelaide, and, in Perth in 2008. And then we were able to send a marketing message that we are a true national supplier. So what happened is the infrastructure and the capability ended up selling the service and sort of and created the product. So if you sort of take it back, from when I started, I mean, if I said, if I represented myself on the internet or through marketing that we're a national supplier, you would certainly get interest, but whether or not you're able to deliver on it was a different, is a completely different ballgame.
You get the first order, not the second. Or the third. Right. Tell me, I just want to go back to, because you mentioned something really interesting earlier, that there was an early comment from a customer who asked about workplace delivery, and so many times we can just either, because we're so busy, we're ready to do the next thing that's on our mind, we're not listening to what people are saying to us. But, sometimes it requires customers to grab us by the shoulders and just shake us and tell us to do something. But was that a pivotal moment where that person said something and you've just gone, whoa, that is just never thought of that? Or tell us about that time.
There's a couple of different steps. What happened is when I was doing the home delivery and there was just myself and one employee, you used to do everything. You used to do the packing, the driving, the buying.
Love it.
And I used to do all the customer service. So, I sort of took the call, and the lady, I still remember her name, she mentioned, do you do workplace fruit? And it was certainly a light bulb moment when I thought, geez, that's a great idea. But what I did do is I said, listen, we do it. So I probably stretched the truth a bit. Yep. I said, absolutely, we do it.
Of course we do. What do you mean, do we?
But what I did, I acted on it, and I arranged a meeting. It was a small department of a very well-known bank, and I sat down with the two people that were organising the fruit, and I asked them what were they currently doing, and they said they were using a fruit vendor that was immediately outside the building. And I said, are you happy with them? And they said, oh, no, we're very happy with them. But the issue that we have is that the vendor finds it very hard to leave their cart unattended. So there's an unpredictable delivery pattern. And also they said a major issue is that GST has just come in, and our finance department is saying that they can't just accept handwritten delivery dockets. They need something a little bit more.
Mate, at this point, you're rubbing your hands together.
Well, I just thought, geez, you're not selling fruit here. It's more about the delivery and the invoicing protocol. So what I did, after that meeting, we signed them up, and they were simply a very modest $30 on a Monday and $40 on a Wednesday.
Yeah, but it's a big bloody bank, and they've got thousands of departments and people that love fruit.
But it didn't really work like that. But I went outside, and for about $800, we developed 1,500 sort of brochures which were very unprofessional, and then I went to Australia Post, and at that stage they organised the city of Melbourne into 4 different delivery zones, and I committed to sending 1,500 of these flyers to 1,500 companies, and we signed up 30 or 40 companies within a week or two.
Couldn't have been that unprofessional, Martin.
Well, I think it was just the right. It was the right product at the right time at that stage.
With a crook brochure.
With a crook brochure, I think that it was a novel idea, and at the same time, it was a lot of companies had a lot of money at that stage. I mean, it wasn't in the environment that we're in today. It was, and companies also were very much sort of making the transition, I think, to really focusing on employee relations and doing good things for their staff. And I think it was just to the right place. So we picked it up, and then after that, we continued down the marketing path, and after a while, the brand got its it got its own awareness, and we've been very fortunate since.
Well, let's talk about that. So, how long ago was that when you started delivering to offices? What year was that?
We started delivering to offices in sort of mid to late 2001.
Right, so we're quite over a decade ago. Wrap some numbers around the fruit box business now. I know you've had some brand extensions. I want to touch on them, but I just want to stay focused on fruit box. Talk to me about, deliveries per week, how many bits of fruit, how many customers, how many employees, what turnover?
We'll talk about fruit and milk, because that probably go in hand in hand. We do. We've got about 8,000 active customers, and we do 25,000 deliveries a week. That equates to about 700,000 pieces of fruit per week, and also equates to about 130,000, just over 130,000 litres of milk per week.
How many staff you got?
We're probably approaching 200.
Wow. Full-timers?
Probably 60-70% full-timers, and then the others are a mixture of permanent part-timers,
right?
And then there's some casuals as well. But
do you mind if I ask what you're turning over?
We're turning over close to $40 million.
What a great story, mate! No wonder I wanted to interview you. How do you feel when that's amazing. What you have gone from buying a little underperforming business in the Bayside suburb of Melbourne go before that, studied the law, didn't like it. You've gone and had the courage to do something that really plays to your strength, and now you just tell me you've got a $40 million turnover business.
Well, look, I'll be honest with you. When I started the business, I didn't have any. I wasn't overly ambitious in terms of making huge amounts of money. Obviously, you're always in it to make money, but
what were you hoping for?
For me, I was hoping to create a cash flow positive business which supported my lifestyle and just sort of having the satisfaction of creating something that worked. So I would say that that took about 5 to 7 years to build a business. That was cash flow positive. We sort of paid off any debt that we we paid off any debt by that stage, and that was probably by 2006, 2007, and that was where I wanted to be. But it's been far more successful than I ever dreamed of. I never crystal ball. I've never sort of crystal balled the position that we were in.
What do you think is there one thing that you can put your finger on that you did right that led to, at some point, explosive growth?
Yeah, I think that having the insight of creating a national infrastructure was a major play for us. So what happened is that when you're typically with products that we deal with, people are locally based, and it's it's not sort of seen it's not seen as a logistics business. It's seen more as a product business. You've got your fruit, you've got your milk. We sort of always approach it as a logistics business, and I think hand in hand with logistics is infrastructure and capability, and then sort of going outside our home state and developing that type of capability nationally gave us the opportunity to sort of speak to procurement managers on a national basis rather than speaking to office managers on a state basis or even on a departmental basis.
So did you, when you said, okay, we're going to go national, that's like getting trucks and warehousing and all sorts of infrastructure in each state, I'm guessing.
That's correct.
And so do you have to roll the dice? Did you have to roll the dice at that point and go, well, we don't have, I'm sure you had some dough in the bank, but we don't have so much dough that we can just go and do that. Was there like, roll the dice, we think this is going to work, or did you bring in investors? Did you borrow a whole lot of dough? How did you do it?
No, did it all ourselves. So what would happen is, you mentioned what are the two things. One, what was the one thing? I said that national was the first thing. The second thing that, probably equally as important is we're very patient with our execution. So the great idea was going national, but the challenging part was the execution. And what I did say with Sydney, for example, is we were able to line up 3 or 4 big customers first. Initially, we outsourced what we were doing, and then once we sort of had the revenue to support an operation, that's when we created an operation, and that's when we got our own vans, our own people. And that's what we did with Brisbane, and that's what we did with Adelaide, and that's what we did with Perth. So it was, it wasn't just one day. You sort of committed to a warehouse, committed to an operations manager, committed to a whole lot of trucks. It was probably in the case of Sydney, it was a 6 to 12 month exercise. So there was a fair bit of patience, and we were very deliberate in the approach that we took when we set up a second state. So it wasn't just put yourself on the line and see how we go and commit to a whole lot of capital. It was something that was carefully thought out. And I think the restriction of capital helped us, it forced us to be patient. If we weren't patient, I don't think it would have ever worked out.
Let's talk marketing. I love one of the things I talk about to my listeners and inside my forum is the fact that you've got to get your message right first before you worry about where to put it. Whether you run down an advertising path, letterbox drops, SEO, whatever, getting your message right is everything. And I love the fact that it seems that the fruit box focuses on it being a cost-effective HR initiative is what I've seen on your website. So you are pitching this as, it's not about eating healthy. This is about team building. It's a small reward for staff, and you're pitching it at the HR manager.
Well, it was a bit of a fluke. What happened is that I remember one of the first marketing campaigns was, we didn't know who to target. I don't have a marketing background, but I remember sort of thinking about slogans and thinking about who we should approach. We thought, this is something that we need to get into the workplace. At that stage, it wasn't commonplace, and we thought HR managers, and I thought, one of the things that would sort of work with them is a message about, being an HR initiative, related initiative, and then sort of for them to sort of go ahead and get it across the line, with finance or whoever it was in their organisation. They had to sort of see that, it was something that wasn't expensive and not sort of looked upon as a luxury item, because at the end of the day, fruit in the workplace is a discretionary expenditure. So, it was actually a fluke, I can't remember the slogan, but it was the most cost-effective HR initiative that you will implement this year, and that had enormous traction straight away. And I think, at the end of the day, like when you think about your customers and trying to get a message that resonates with them straight away, I think something that's health-related, that's low cost, that's fresh, and that's quite novel, something that is more likely to get their attention. So,
well, you've got it. You've ticked all those boxes. It's funny. My son's doing Year 12 at the moment, Martin, and he's actually doing business management. And one of the topics they're covering right now is staff retention and reward. And he was asking me some questions last night. I said, "You're not going to believe this, champ, but I'm actually interviewing this bloke who delivers fruit to businesses," and it's and we talked about that. And then on the other hand, the next conversation that followed was one of my old employers. I used to be the marketing manager at Flight Centre. They had a staff reward program about 3 weeks ago where they flew about 2,500 of their staff to Hong Kong, and will.i.am DJ'd. So there's your at one end, staff retention and reward through fruit. And there's the other end of putting on a multi-million-dollar show. I know which most employees would opt for.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, there's a whole lot of psychology to staff retention, which it's not my competency. But look, I rationalise things. I mean, like everybody, I rationalise things, to sort of to justify what I believe. And one of the things I always think that if employers are the type of people that provide fruit for their staff, they're the type of people that are likely to say hello to their staff in the morning. They're likely to address their staff by their names, and they're the type of people who are likely to sort of say please and thank you when they ask staff to do things. And I think when you look at those type of things, there's a culture embedded in all of that, and they're the sort of things that sort of lead to staff retention. So,
mate, it's such a great marketing message. Like, are you this type of employer? Do you like to have conversations with your staff and make them feel at home? And if you are, then you better get Fruitbox.
That's right. So I mean, look, it's you can, and I think it's fantastic to fly, a whole lot of people, fly your staff overseas and do something, on a grand scale like that. But, I just think that at the end of the day, people sort of just like sort of things that don't necessarily cost money, or they don't have to cost a lot of money. And, if they feel secure and comfortable and valued in their workplace, I think they're the type of things that, are much more likely to lead to staff retention.
Yeah, totally agree. Martin, I love how you say, mate, you're not, expert in, customer psychology or marketing, but boy, oh boy, I mean, I sometimes think, it doesn't require a degree to have those competencies. You just kind of learn on the job. And, some of those insights you've shared into HR and into marketing, I think they're gold.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that, in a lot of cases in this business, you're learning on the job. You're forced to learn things as new opportunities arise, and the main thing is it's important to have an open mind and be prepared to sort of understand new things. And I think that with all our marketing and with all our selling, I think the first thing that we always think about is what is something that the customer would like to sort of see that they actually haven't thought about, and that creates a sort of a culture of sort of really understanding the psychology of the customer, number one. But number two is that it also forces us to be, quite innovative in what we're doing. I know at the end of the day it's fruit and milk, but it's not about fruit and milk at all. It's more about the service that surrounds the delivery of it, and that's the approach that we've had for the last 10, 12 years, and all the time we're trying to second guess what would the customer like to sort of see as part of their service that they're not currently getting at the moment.
Love it. So to that end, I'm assuming there's some kind of nice little experience that comes with being a customer of the fruit box, so that you don't just literally lob up and drop a box of fruit off. Can you kind of maybe take us through what that experience looks and feels like? Yeah,
well, what happens, I mean, fruit and milk, very similar. Probably, I'll give you an example of fruit, and then I'll take you through a milk box journey, because that will probably be an even better example. But with fruit, you're right. Nobody just wants you to just drop the fruit outside the building, and they sort of carry it to the tea room. In a lot of cases, we're dealing with big organisations with tens, if not hundreds, of kitchenettes where they want the fruit broken up according to the amount of staff levels on each floor, each site. It can be broken up in many different ways, and it's not uniform. And they just want to see a seamless service. They want something where it's not just about buying fruit. They want it broken up. They want it delivered in a certain way. So we could literally go into an organisation that's probably got multi-sites, break up the order on multiple days, and in most cases they can expect a delivery at exactly the same time each week. And that's the type of thing that people are sort of looking at when they buy fruit. So it's not just about putting something like fruit into the workplace, it's also having a seamless service where they don't have to think about anything other than receiving an invoice once a month and basically signing off on it.
What about the person that delivers that fruit? Is it a truck driver, or is it actually a branded, uniformed member of the fruit box?
Yeah, no, 80 to 90% of our deliveries are done by our own fleet and by our own staff. So we've got our own fleet of our own branded vehicles, and then we've got our drivers that are all sort of got their branded uniforms. So it's all done in-house predominantly. We control the whole supply chain from purchasing the fruit at the markets, and in nearly 95% of cases, the fruit's purchased in the local market. So, in the case of Perth, it's all purchased through the Canning Vale markets, and in Melbourne through Footscray markets and so on. And then we basically take it back to our warehousing. We store it. We then pack it. We then deliver it.
So you've got a lot of control. The more control you can have of that supply chain, the greater the success your business is.
Well, the thing is that it depends on your business. In our business, it's all about the way in which it's delivered. So I've just given you an example that you could literally be going to a building where there are 50 different kitchenettes, scattered all over the building. I mean, it's not something you can just give to a third party, courier. So it's quite involving, and that's what really gets us across the line, is that, there's a fair bit of detail in the way we deliver what we do. And, it's an enormous barrier to entry for somebody to basically say, I can deliver fruit or I can deliver milk. But then the hard part is how it's delivered and what the expectation of the customer is. So our whole, it's something, our whole fleet has been trained up to basically, deliver the way in which, we represent it's going to be delivered, and then we've got a whole contingency, should a driver not be available, there's 3 or 4 or 5 different drivers that have been trained up to basically take their place. So there's a fair bit of love that goes behind the simplicity of delivering fruit and milk. I wish I thought about it 15 years ago, but it's nothing like that. It's something that you learn on the job, and then you sort of see opportunities along the way, and then you sort of test a lot of things, and then once you see that they work, you embed them into your marketing messages for the next campaign.
Absolutely. Martin, your business is very much reliant on the online world. I imagine you spend a lot of time testing and retesting things on your websites. I notice you've got Google AdWords happening. I'm sure you've got some pretty solid search engine optimization happening. If there was one insight that you could give listeners to kind of nailing their online footprint, what would it be?
Oh, gee, that's a tough question.
Top of mind.
Look, I think if I was sitting in if our marketing manager was sitting here with me now and had to answer that question, I think she would say that constantly testing and being prepared to put a bit of the budget away, all the time to test new concepts. is probably what's critical.
Yeah, I think that's, say no more there, mate. I totally agree. I think one of the things the online world allows us to do is test. You know, you print 500 brochures, you know, you're going to have to pay more to get another 500 reprinted if there's a mistake or it didn't work. But with the online world, it's so beautifully simple to make those changes.
And the other thing is with online marketing, I mean, it really is, I mean, embryonic, and it's something that is really evolving, you know, as we speak. So I think it's the right, it's sort of at the right stage where you really have to test these, you know, test new concepts. So
I just want to finish our discussion with brand extensions, because I haven't had a chance to talk to a guest on the show who's done it to the extent that you have. So we've been talking about the fruit box. You've now got the hamper box, the milk box, the coffee box, and all sitting above that is a brand called Box Corporate, which I'm guessing is more of a, dare I say, like a holding company or a parent company of which you've got all these brands that live underneath. Was there a lot of discussion going into how you extend the brand?
Yeah, it's been a big exercise, and it's something that sort of takes a fair bit of time to really make people, your customers, aware of. I mean, essentially, our business, the big, what people know is the fruit box. People are starting to know what the milk box is, and we've recently launched our gifting business, which is the hamper box. Again, that probably doesn't have the same awareness due to its age, but we needed to put something all together that sort of was, as you said, and held these umbrella brands together. And in the end, people are looking for consolidated invoicing, and if that's what they choose to do, Box Corporate is the way in which they can do it. But I mean, I would still say that it's something that's in development at the moment. When people think of us, they still think of us by our categories, which is fruit box, milk box, and whilst they're selling so well, it's very hard to really push it and make the migration across to one holding company.
Yeah, totally. Fully understand that, and it seems to be the smart thing to do. Hey, I read a tip for success that you shared in an interview a couple of years ago. You said self-esteem is the most important thing. You owe it to yourself to be happy. Yeah. You're still happy?
Well, that's leading to what you asked me about the law.
Yeah.
That I probably had that tip because I was desperately unhappy. I shouldn't say unhappy. I was just so incompatible with that. I felt that I had no choice but to sort of to try something different. I think in the end, as an individual, and certainly as an employer, I think it's important. You've got a vested interest in your own happiness and also the people around you. I think that I think it's a major factor. I mean, you just, again, you think logically, if somebody around you is sort of not so comfortable and has enormous self-esteem issues, which is and they're under they're sort of working with you in the organisation. It's not good for them. It's not good for yourself. And I think it's important that everybody is quite happy and comfortable where they're at.
I think one of the great things about owning a small business is that we can absolutely choose, as owners, we can choose what the business does and how we go about it. And I hate seeing anyone unhappy. I particularly hate seeing a small business owner that's unhappy, because they really do have complete control over what they do in their business life.
Yeah, there's a lot of being a small business owner. I mean, there's a lot of thrills, and there's also a lot of pressure.
A lot of spills.
There's a lot of spills as well. But look, at the end, I mean, whilst you want everything to go your way, because when you are a small business and somebody is unhappy and they decide to go, it's very disruptive and very hard to replace them. When you look at it from a long-term point of view, it's not good for them, not good for the business, and I think that it's important that together you identify identify that something's not right, and you work together to make it right for all parties. So,
yep.
I think that we go back to psychology. I think that the biggest job of any business owner or employer is to really sort of look out to make sure that people are happy with what they're doing.
Love it. Hey, Martin, really appreciate it, mate. Well done on building such a fruitful business. Sorry, I couldn't help that, mate. I get accused of way too many dad jokes on the show, so I just thought...
Oh, well, we're doing our best to milk it, Tim. How's that?
Oh, boom, boom. Martin Halphen from the Fruit Box, thanks for being on Small Business Big Marketing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Fruit salad. Yummy, yummy.
What about that, team? What a ripper interview. Before I share my top 3 learnings from that little fireside chat, let me share a pro tip from our friends at Swiftly. Now, as you know, Swiftly is all about doing small design jobs real fast, like in less than an hour, for a massive $19. But Swiftly has just upped the ante. Now they're offering over 2,000 creative templates free. We're talking Facebook banners, Twitter backgrounds, business cards, letterheads, and plenty more. You can personalise them yourself or get Swiftly onto it for just $19. Now that's got to be good for business. Check them out at swiftly.com. That's SWIFTLY. Okay, I'd love to know what you got from that fireside chat with Martin. You can head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Click on episode 198 and leave your comments in the show notes. You get a nice little backlink, hey? Back to your site as well. My top 3 learnings, patience and execution. Love that. We're all in a rush. Life's fast, but Martin had the patience when executing, and he was deliberate in the way he executed his business into the other states, taking it nationally. Love that. Number 2, get a big customer or 2 before you take really big leaps. That's easy to say, I know. Certainly happened in my business when I was starting my marketing consultancy all those years ago. I did manage to get a big customer that kind of bankrolled me to then, taking the leap away from corporate and doing my own thing. Number 3, get your messages right. I love how Martin's got his messages around staff reward and retention, a cost-effective HR initiative he has on his website. So he's really clear on how he pitches his business. So they're my top 3. There were plenty more. I'd love to know what yours were or is, because it is also not just knowing what they are. It's about taking the action. So if you did get a little nugget from today's episode, go and implement immediately. That almost brings us to the end of today's episode. Got some great guests in the weeks ahead. I have a chat to a bloke who's just moved out of a cave in Spain and is now living on an olive farm in Spain. He is living the dream, and he's got a very cool little business to go with it. I have also got Australia's most successful network marketer coming on the show in a few weeks' time. He's off on a little overseas trip at the moment, but we haven't had that network marketing discussion for about 3.5 years. Last time was with Cody Bateman from Send Out Cards, and things have moved on from there, and I would be interested to have that discussion. I've had a few people email me about wanting to have that discussion on this show. It's a dirty word in some people's minds, not in others, so we'll have that, plus plenty more. Don't forget to join the Small Business Big Marketing Forum at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Click on the forum button. I'm in there every day answering your marketing questions and holding you accountable and pushing you along with a whole lot of other motivated small business owners. Remember, Net Registry are there to get your online marketing sorted, and Swiftly, small design fixes done real fast. Hey, what about that? That's enough. I've been Timbo Reid. Much more importantly, you're a motivated small business owner. May you have a wonderful week. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.